wood, that sounds mighty cheap, and a whole lot more. There's a much bigger bragging rights, much better bragging rights from that when you're dealing with a design that by Pete's design, what is $60, $50 to $60 for a design that can whoop another design by 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 8 dB with ease. And it's nothing more to you as the assembler or the shop as an assembler than a couple more minutes, in putting something together that took, hours to extract, or what do you go to extrapolate? From his hard work, put his hard work to use. It may be 2 more pieces of wood, when it comes to assembly, to make something that just absolutely beats the living piss out of another design, including any manufacturer's design, such as Digital Designs. I mean, we know right away we've got a system that we say works, does pretty well for our dealers, but especially when compared to a lot of other manufacturers. We've done a lot of in-car work, but we were never able to do something this in-depth, obviously. And the day that I met Pete was the day that I knew, holy crap, now I've got 1, somebody to learn from, and 2, a really, really fucking good friend, and 3, an engineer that can do so many badass things with enclosures that we never would have figured out. I can guarantee it. There's no way we would have figured out any of this stuff. And assist in making more specific subwoofers, or more design specific enclosure or subwoofers, so that we can make more customers and more dealers happy. And that in the end, I want to make my dealers more money, because the more money they make, the more often they're going to pick up the phone and order from us. Everybody's happy when they're all making money, and of course, get Mr. Pete where he's wearing Prada every day, right? Sooner or later, you'll have the PWK edition Ferrari. So we'll be doing some fun stuff here together in the near future, and want to make sure that everybody knows that DD stands 100% behind Pete's work, and that your design is always only as good as your measurements and how well you know your car. So I can tell you that. I did have a customer that obviously doesn't look at the internet very often. Had a customer that wanted a design. I said, all right, we're going to go with this engineer. His name is Pete, and his shit always works, all right? We did this design for the back of this guy's car, and he drove off, of course, after I built the enclosure for him. He went off, and it was designed kind of weird. It was obviously to use this car, and it was a Cougar, if I'm not mistaken, 2000 Cougar. Had 135/15. The design specifically for what he was asking for was to fire the subwoofer forward, and the vents had to be fired rearward in this particular application. The customer thought that it was going to be an up firing. I, of course, had no idea, and I never told him, which direction anything would fire, because using Pete's system, Pete may not even know at that very moment, whenever you give the vehicle to him, what direction anything's going to fire, because the system is going to basically spit out which axes the woofer might need to be on, the ports might need to be on, just to get a given set performance at a given location in the vehicle. Badass system, I'm telling you, man. It's the coolest thing in the world. It is no Basebox Pro, and it is no Win ISD, I can tell you that. Either way, to the T, man, it told me exactly what it was going to do, and I was ready for this thing to just rip my damn head off. And it was still loud. I want to make sure that you understand that. You're talking with a manufacturer that knows and hears amongst the loudest things that have ever been built, and deals with them all day long. So when I expect something to be loud, I expect it to be excruciatingly loud. Got in the car, and it was still impressive for a 15, and the customer yet was not happy. He was saying man, it just doesn't do this or doesn't do that, and I can't remember exactly what it was. And I said, okay, so let me sit in the car, let me hear. He was wanting low bass. Again, this is one of those customers that wants, 175 decibels in a street car with one battery and half an amplifier, and 115, and also wants it to play board flat from 22.7 cycles all the way up to 89. You know that customer. So an impossible customer for one, but the main thing is as I slowly got the guy into the idea of do you want to be the guy to win the trophy in a class that wasn't even full, because that's the way it always is, which that we don't really stand behind the SPL thing until one day somebody makes an SPL class that's absolutely perfect, that's cool as crap, it actually generates business for the dealer, which right now is none. This guy, is doing his own organization or doing his own SPL stuff, and he's wanting it to hit a high number, but also wants it to be musical, wants it to play low frequency. And this is in a little hatchback of some really odd dimensions and whatnot. He gets the 15 and decides, that it just doesn't do something. Something was not where he was wanting it. And so Pete knew, okay, well, here's a test for you. I want you to go ahead and play this frequency, play this frequency, play this frequency, and then tell me what you get. And by judging by just ear response, I could tell him that at certain frequencies it sounded like, this was happening or that was happening. So he was able to put that into his system. But, this wasn't pulling digits out of his ass. This is where I knew this was my concrete evidence that Pete's system, if that's what you want to call it, which is extravagant, by the way, and enormous, that this system works. And what he had done is, listen to those and then gave Pete this information. Pete put it into the system. Again, it wasn't pulling something out of his ass. The system told him exactly where the problem was, and there was a definable, a definite problem, and it had an exact location too. So judging by this response that I was getting by ear given to him, we found, Pete said, all right, this has to be a leak. It has to be behind the subwoofer, and it has to be to the right of the enclosure. Because I was able to sit here and do the test where he is sitting. I was able to sit where I'm sitting right now and do the same test. And there were different responses, of course. Now, granted, this was a subwoofer system or an enclosure in the back of the vehicle that was dead center. The vents were symmetric, both left and right, and the subwoofer was dead center. So performance should have been equal at both headrests. Excuse me. And of course, either side there was quite a difference to what was happening and what I was registering with my ears. So gave him that information. He spits out, it's in the rear, it's behind the subwoofers, or behind the enclosure, which was literally 3 to 4 inches. That's it. There was no extra room. This is in a hatchback. And he said, so to me, it would have to be, what'd you say? It was like equivalent to like 0.9 PSI or some shit?
Yeah, I gave you the cumulative loss. I gave you the approximate circumference of the leak. And I think I also gave you the PSI differential of the frequencies at which the leak occurred.
Right. So, for what I remember of all of that, which was only 1/3, was that it was equivalent to 0.9 PSI. Almost 1 pound per square inch loss. And so that's massive. That's almost like opening the damn rear hatch, wide ass open, for this response within a certain bandwidth or right at a certain frequency that he gave me to test. And sure as shit, like he said, somewhere around 6 inches off center to the right would be either a tear in the gasket around the window, the seal for the hatch, or it would be like a blown out seal on a taillight. But he didn't think it was that far to the right. And the customer, at that point, is, no, this system doesn't work. He took the thing out, and it was months later, or a month later or something, that he finally came back with that in there. and I said, this is where he said the leak is to be. And I looked in there from the back of the car, from the outside looking in, and I could see daylight right through his windshield through that seal. And the seal had a tear in it about 6 to 7 inches long, just off center to the right. Exactly what he had said I would have to be looking for.